Hello, welcome to Benjamin Tree. Today we're going to be looking at how to make a formula that will give you the most previous Sunday based on the date you inputted. Or you can change it to say what's the most previous Thursday based on the date that you inputted. Now the formula that we're going to write is kind of small, but what happens is to fully understand it, we're going to break it down into multiple parts to understand what exactly is happening. We don't want to just go in and say, oh, here's the formula. I don't understand it. Because maybe later you want to modify this formula and do something new. And it's better to understand how it fully works than just copying and paste the formula. So we're going to start off with the dates January 1st, 1900 to January 7th, 1900. The reason why I chose these is because they are the very first numbers in this date serial numbers. So January 1st, 1900 has a serial number of 1. So before we begin, let's see what weekday are these dates. Okay, so right now off the top of your head, unless you have a 1900s calendar, you don't know what day it is. So we're going to type in weekday, the function weekday, and we're going to input the serial number of January 1st, 1900. Okay, and we're just going to use the basic return type, and we get a 1. So what happens is that 1 means it's a Sunday. So January 1st, 1900 is a Sunday. So let's look at January 2nd, 1900. We should get a 2 because 2 represents Monday. It's the next day. So we type in equal weekday. Our serial number is here in A3 under January 2nd, 1900. And that gives us a 2. Okay, 2 means Monday. So if we take this formula and we just bring it down for the rest of the table here, we get the numbers 1 through 7. And the 7th day of January 1900 comes out as a 7, and that's a Saturday. Okay, so now we have some perspectives that will make understanding this formula a little bit easier. So just to review real quick, let's look at the serial numbers of all of these dates that I have in this table, January 1st to January 14th, 1900. So I'm going to take the cell E3 or E2 and set it equal to the cell D2. Right now it's giving me the same date, but I'm going to change it over to general, and that gives me the serial number of 1. The number 1 represents the date January 1st, 1900. Okay, so again, in cell E3, set it equal to D3. Okay, right now it gives me the same date, but I'm going to switch it over to the general number, and it gives me the 2. Number 2 represents January 2nd, 1900. So we drag this down, and we can see that these 14 days have the serial numbers 1 through 14. Okay, so to understand our formula that we're going to use to find the most previous Sunday based on the input date, we need to use the function modulo. So we've already had a lesson about modulo, which is on a previous lesson. So you can go to the blog and find a link to that lesson. Okay, so let's use the function modulo. We're going to start off and type in equal MOD, and our input number is going to be the date, January 1st, 1900, and we're going to use the divisor 7 because there's 7 days in a weekday. All right, I hit that. Right now it's giving us the date. We just want the general number, and it gives us a modulo of 1. So remember a modulo, what it does, it says, okay, I'm going to take this number here in D2, the serial number 1, and divide it by 7 and tell you what is the remainder. It doesn't tell me how many times 7 goes into the number. It tells me what is the remainder of 7 going into that number. So 7 going into the number 1, it goes into it 0 times. What's left over? A number 1. Okay, so one more time, equal modulo of the date January 2nd, 1900. And we're going to use the divisor of 7 for 7 weekdays. And we change that into the general number, and it gives us a 2. The modulo of 7 going into the date of January 2nd, 1900 is 2. Let's drag these down, and you can see that there's a pattern, 1 through 6, then 0. 1 through 6, then 0. Now, the final formula that we're going to have here is going to be this date minus a certain number to go back to the previous Sunday. Okay, so what we're going to be using is these modulos to go back a certain day. But remember, January 1st, 1900 is already a Sunday. We don't want to go back. So if we're going to use the modulo to pick out the number of days we have to go back, we want to change this into a 0. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to edit the modulo function here to give us a 0 instead of 1 for the date of January 1st, 1900, which is already a Sunday. So we're going to say modulo, and we're going to take the number of January 1st, 1900 in D2. We're going to subtract 1 from that and then have the divisor of 7. Okay, now that gives us a modulo of, put it back in the general number, of 0. So when we take the serial number 1 and subtract 1 from it, and we divide it by 7, the remainder is 0, because 7 goes into 0 0 times, and the remainder is 0. Okay, so one more time. So the modulo of the date January 2nd, 1900, which is a 2 minus 1 with a divisor of 7, gives us the new modulo of 1. So 2 minus 1, the serial number of 2 minus 1 is a 1. 7 goes into the number 1 0 times with the remainder of 1. Okay, so we drag that down and we get the new pattern of 0 to 6, 0 to 6. Now I want to take a look here. Let's look at the Saturday here. Okay, we're going to edit this formula real quick just to show that we can't do it a different way. So we have the modulo of 7 divided by 7 gives us a remainder of 0. Then when we subtract 1, that doesn't give us a correct number because we go to general. It gives us a -1. Okay, so we can't be using that. So we're going to send it back to the correct formula of modulo D8, this serial number, -1, which gives us a 6. Okay, so 7 into 6 goes into 0 times, and we get a result of 6. That's why we have to put this -1 inside the modulo equation here. So let's make our final formula. Okay, so we're going to say, what we're going to do is we're going to take this date and we're going to subtract the modulo -1 formula that we did right here. So D2, January 1st, 1900, minus the modulo of D2, January 1st, 1900, subtracted by 1, that number with a divisor of 7 will give us the date of January 1st, 1900. Okay, so the date, so basically what's really happening is it's saying this is the serial number, go back by this modulo -1 number, 0, and staying on the same day. So let's do it one more time. Okay, so we're going to take the date of D3, which is January 2nd, 1900. We're going to subtract the modulo of January 2nd, 1900, and we're going to take that serial number and subtract 1, and then we're going to take that number and divide it by 7, and that will give us a new modulo number, and we're going to subtract that from the date of January 2nd, 1900. Now it's giving us the same date of January 1st, 1900, because this is a Sunday, as we see over here. So if we drag this all the way down, we're going to have 1 week of all the January 1st Sundays, and then the next week is going to be a week of all January 8th Sundays. Okay, because here January 8th is a Sunday, and we don't want to move back. January 9th is a Monday, and we want to move back 1 day, and so on. So now we can see the basic formula of what we need to do to find the most recent Sunday based on a date that we input. Now let's go over to the next part. We're going to find the most recent Tuesday. So for this, we're going to be starting with the date January 5th, 2016 and go on down. So let's find out. Unless you have your calendars open, let's find out what day January 5th is. So we're going to say weekday, and we're going to input that date, and it gives us a 3, so 3 is a Tuesday. I'm starting on a Tuesday to make it more easy to understand what we're going to be doing. So one more time, January 6, 2016 equals weekday, and we're going to put that date in, and we get a 4 is a Wednesday. So January 6, 2016 is a Wednesday. We drop it down, and we get the same repeating pattern of 3 to 7, then 1 to 7, 1, 2. All right, so let's find out what the modulo of this. Remember right here, this is actually a giant serial number, 42,374. And if we divide it by 7, what is the modulo of that number? Okay, but we don't want that number. We want to see the short date because that's easier for us to understand the date. So the modulo of A2, which is January 5th, 2016, with a divisor of 7 is giving us a modulo of, can you guess it? Well, it's going to be a 3. Put that over to the general number. It gives us a 3. Okay, so let's go over here to the next one. For January 6, 2016, that gives us, so we find the modulo of that date with a divisor of 7. It gives us a return of 4. Okay, and if we copy it down, we're going to see this pattern that whatever the weekday is, it has the same modulo except for Saturdays, and that's 0. Okay, so, well, let's think about it. We want to find the most recent Tuesday. January 5th, 2016 is already the Tuesday. We don't want to go back. We have a modulo of 3. We need to use the modulo to figure out how many days we want to go back, but we don't want to go back any days. So we want to change this 3 to a 0. So 3 minus x equals 0, we need to subtract it by 3. So let's do that. Modulo of January 5th, 2016 minus 3 with a divisor of 7 gives us the return of 0. Okay, let's go for January 6, 2016. The modulo of January 6, 2016 minus 3 with a divisor of 7 gives us a return of 1. Okay, so remember here, January 6, 2016 is a Monday, okay, and we want to go back one day. Sorry, it's not a Monday. I'm sorry, it's a Wednesday. A 4 means a Wednesday. I'm sorry. So we have a Wednesday. January 6, 2016 is a Wednesday. We want to go back one day to Tuesday. So this new modified modulo, we get a 1 so that we can tell the formula to go back one day on Wednesdays to get to a Tuesday. So let's drag this on down and we get these new modified modulos. So we put this new thing into the final formula. We're going to say we want the date here in A2, January 5th, 2016. We're going to subtract it by the modulo of January 1st, or January 5th, 2016 minus 3 with a divisor of 7, and that's going to give us January 5th, 2016. So one more time. So we're going to take the date of A3, January 6, 2016. We're going to subtract it from the modulo, and that's going to be the date of A3 minus 3 divided with a divisor of 7, and that will give us the same date of Tuesday. So if we pull this down here, we can see for this 7 days, the most recent Tuesday is January 5th, 2016, which is a 3 here on the weekday, which means a Tuesday. And here, January 12th, 2016 is the most recent Tuesday for this groups of 7 days. Now, if you want to change it to a Thursday, I want to find a formula to say what's the most recent Thursday. What do you think you'll have to modify your modulo by? So remember, if we want to find the most recent Sunday, we had to modify our modulo by -1. If we wanted to find the most recent Tuesday, we had to modify our modulo by -3. So if you want to find the most recent Thursday, you need to modify your modulo by -5. So that's the idea of how this formula we use to find the most previous day is used with a modulo. It's very simple, but we broke it down and tried to understand what is happening. So that way, if you wanted to find a Saturday, you understand what's happening and it's easier for you to modify it than trying to just copy the basic formula without understanding it and just trying to input until you figure it out or until you give up and throw your keyboard across the room. So for practice, we're going to be using today's date. Okay, and I want you to find the most previous Fridays in this column using the dates in this column here. So when you finish, you can check your answers here in the practice answer key. Thank you for using Benjamin Tree today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, or on the blog. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.